Hello, I'm Matt and I am a psychic medium, but it has taken me quite a while to feel comfortable saying that. In my podcast, I explore the up and down journey of getting comfortable with my psychic and mediumship abilities. I will be talking with guests about their experiences, whilst turning the spotlight onto myself and figuring out how I can embrace my gifts while living a normal life. So welcome to the Psychic Explorer. Hello everyone, welcome to this episode of the Psychic Explorer. If it sounds like I'm driving, it's because I'm driving. I've been trying to find time to do the recording to the introductions and the outros, and it is taking up a lot of my time. So I decided to try and take my microphone, my mini microphone, with me while I work, so I can record them while I'm out and about and be a bit more spontaneous. So I'm taking you on a bit of a journey this afternoon. I'm driving from one client to another. It is Good Friday and I don't do Easter, never really have. I have to admit, I completely forgot it was Good Friday today. I went to the post office to send a card to a friend whose birthday is on Sunday. And I was completely perplexed as to why the post office was closed. I went to the door and I pulled it open. I tried to pull it open and it was locked shut. And I looked inside and it was all the lights were out. I thought, what is going on? And it suddenly dawned on me about 10 minutes later that actually it's Good Friday and everything is closed. So by the time that you are listening to this, obviously Easter will have been and gone. So I hope you enjoyed your time with family and ate lots of chocolate and everything else that goes with the modern version of Easter. I am going from my lovely client, my lovely 12:30 client, to my 3 o'clock client, and yeah, I thought I'd take you along the journey. So if you can hear the engine going in the background, the gears changing, the indicator, then that is why. Today's episode is a special one to me. I am taking you on a journey today as I go from client to client, but someone who has been really special in my personal journey has agreed to come on to the podcast today and allowed me to ask her questions. If you have listened to previous episodes, then you will have heard her name already. Nicola is the leader of the face-to-face circle that I attend most Wednesday evenings. And she has really helped support me. And I'm really lucky to have two circle leaders, not only Nicola, but also Dana, who was on a month or so ago. Not only fantastic supporters within their circles, but also supporters in my other ventures. They were both more than happy to come on to this podcast and be recorded by myself. So I'm forever grateful for both of them. But Nicola really pushed me in a positive way. I started going to her circle because I felt a real need to experiment some more, to push myself some more. So I had listened to the urge to seek out other circles, and I had done so and found Nicola's circle. I looked online, looked on Facebook, and the Norfolk Spiritual Centre came up. I looked on the Facebook page and it said that there was a circle going on, and it happened to be in the next village over from my village. And I thought, wow, that is, of all the villages in Norfolk where I live, this circle is going on and they're looking for new people to come along to it, and it's happening in the next village over. So I called her up and I asked if I could come along, and I went. And from that moment, Nicola was so welcoming. Now, she was very different to the woman that led my other face-to-face circle who I was going to at that time. She was a lot more vocal, almost a lot more opinionated. And it was just a completely different energy. And I really enjoyed the challenge that she gave me of challenging myself. Because I remember going in there, and the first reading I ever did in Nicola's circle, I was channeling this woman's grandmother, and she was showing me a ring. Now, my other circle leader has said to me, only ever say what is being channeled, what is being brought forward. Don't ever ask questions, because that's when your mind makes things up, which to me, that was logical, that made sense. So when I said to this woman and to Nicola, who was there with me at that time, I've got this grandmother, she's showing me a ring. Nicola said, well, what does the ring look like? I asked her, and I looked at her and I thought, is this a trick question? Is this a test to see if I'm doing it right or not? So I did. I said, there are 3 stones. On the outside, 2 of them are green, so emerald, and on the middle one is diamond. And the woman's jaw dropped and said, oh my God, you are describing exactly the ring that my grandmother left me. And I looked at Nicola and she just smiled at me and said, you just got to be curious, be nosy. She said, that's where the juiciness is. If you're being nosy, that's where the juicy stuff is. And it gave me a confidence that, oh, this can be done in a different way. This doesn't have to be done in such a rigid manner. You can play around with it. You can have fun with it. And that fun, I feel, really comes through in this conversation between me and Nicola. Not only do we talk about Nicola's coming to this spiritual world, how she felt about it, but we also talk about circle, because I'm very aware that I throw these phrases around in this podcast, assuming that you may know what they mean, but you may not. So I want to go back to basics on this episode and uncover what circle is, what it means to different people, and who is circle for. And the answer to that is everyone. I'm really excited to introduce you to my circle leader and someone who I consider a friend, someone who I consider a champion, a supporter, someone that has made a massive difference in my personal development and my life. She was the first person to encourage me to stand up and do an actual platform event. She invited me along to an event that she was going to on a Sunday evening. And she gave me the option to come along. It was completely out of the blue, and I haven't spoken about it yet, but I will do soon. It was a Sunday morning. I was having a lie-in, and I remember getting a message from her on my phone saying, "Hi Matt, hope you're well, enjoying your Sunday. I'm going to a platform event tonight and I'd like you to come along to do some platform work." And my blood just went cold. I felt utterly sick. And the whole day I was in panic, but I messaged her and I said, I don't want to do it, but I feel like if I say no, I'm not going to do it again. So let's do it. I'm going to take the plunge and trust that this is going to work out all right. And I didn't look back. It was amazing. I've done it 5 times now, and it's not blowing my own trumpet, but it just shows that once you start believing that you have the confidence, you actually do find that confidence. And confidence is also another theme of today's conversation, something that Nicola seems to have plenty of. And I really hope you enjoy this one. So I'm going to stop blathering. I have now reached my destination. I hope you enjoyed that little ride with me. And here's Nicola Ghigi. Enjoy, guys.
Nicola Ghigi is a spiritual medium, qualified energy healer and tutor. Having been on a personal journey of spiritual exploration for over 30 years, Nicola founded the Norfolk Spiritual Centre just after lockdown and has dedicated the last 5 years to teaching others through workshops and development circles. She continues to grow this community for spiritual exploration through sharing her knowledge after years of study, questioning and listening to soul. Nicola, welcome to the Psychic Explorer. How are you?
I'm very well, Matt, and actually it's an absolute pleasure to be here. I feel honoured to have been asked. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Nicola. I really appreciate you coming on. As you know, this podcast is all about the realities of stepping into your psychic and mediumship abilities. As a circle leader, and I know I cringe when I use that phrase, I don't like it, but you have played a huge part in my own development. You lead the face-to-face circle that I go to once a week. You also said in your bio that you lead development groups, and I have attended some of those as well. So I'm really excited to talk to you today, Nicola, not only to talk to you about your experience of development, but also to get your thoughts on what the concept is around circle. Before we get into circles, though, I would really be interested to know, how did you step onto this journey and how did you begin exploring?
Gosh, and we go back a few decades now, don't we? Yes, it's about just over 3 decades. And it was where I now understand, and I believe through trauma. Mine was through a passing. The trauma can be many different things. Passing, an accident or a problem in life, or possibly birth. But mine was the moment my mother, bless her heart, passed to spirit. I was with her, I held her, and her last breath, literally her last breath, was almost a breath within me again. From nowhere, it is, where are you? Where have you gone? I know you're still close by. It is as simple as that. It was almost a sort of a body jerk. From her last breath, that last breath went within me. And I've said it to you, Matt, before. I thank my mother because in my world, in my mind, she gave birth to me twice. Once in this physical world that we live in now, and she gave birth to me spiritually. So as hard as it is to say that my spiritual adventure, journey, path, whichever words you wish to use, was through the death or the passing of my mother, I know that sounds strange, but in some ways she blessed me yet again.
I hope you don't mind, but the phrase that you just used there, I have taken that on board myself. And when I repeat that to other people, they say to me, oh my God, that is such a beautiful phrase. It is so emotive. It is so emotional, but it's also completely true, isn't it?
Yeah, and certainly that thought held my grief like in a warm duvet, that thought of the fact that she's still here holding my hand, but I didn't quite know how far that road was or what that road was at that time. But now I see it all. And when I think of her and that gift, endless gifts that my mother gave, it was her greatest, her final, but her greatest.
This happened 30 years ago.
Yeah, just over.
So we're talking pre-internet. When your mum passed and when you felt this knowing that there's something else going on, how did you begin exploring?
Well, as you say, nowadays, this wonderful internet and this ability to go, as we'll talk about shortly, onto circles all around the world, which is, learning or understanding shouldn't become too quick, but it's there for you. For me, I see now, may I indulge myself with a little bit further, just literally some weeks after my mother passed away, I sat there at a table with one of my children who was actually only 2.5. I didn't know. All I knew was something was happening. And she turned to me while she was colouring at the table and she said, "Oh, Mummy, I saw Nana and Big Nana." Excuse that, everybody. Big Nana was my Nana was so vain. She didn't want to be called Great Nana. So sorry, everybody. We digress there. She said, "I saw Nana and Big Nana last night." And of course, as you can imagine, I just turned to her and said, "Oh, are they all right?" And she said, 2.5, she said, "Oh, yes, they're absolutely fine. They've got lots of lovely friends over there."
Wow.
And that too still puts that chills, or not that chill, that within me now, literally a few days later. And I was thinking, gosh, is this my lead? What is going on? Literally 2 days later, I sat there talking about 31 years ago with the big newspaper at the table. And all of a sudden, the whole newspaper went blank, apart from one piece in the middle. And it was from a lady whose son had passed through a motorbike accident. She was beside herself. What could she do? What should she do? And it gave the number then of the SNU, which is the Spiritualist National Union, telephone number. Contact them. They must have somebody that can help you. So what does Nicola do? She's straight up on the, not the mobile, on the landline.
Yeah.
I rang this number and they gave me 3 names of people in my area that I could contact that would maybe help me to try and understand, or I didn't know what that word was, a reading. I thought, what's that then? So I did, and one name came out. I met with this lady who at that time charged nothing, wanted no money, nothing at all. She was traditional of mediums of her time. She then became my mentor, still is really, these 30 years later. But how did I do it? I don't think I did I? Because everything was placed in front of me. I just happened to notice, I happened to listen, I happened to act. And this is what, as I said, we're all psychic. This is what will happen through trauma. It triggers that within us, that one where we're always looking for something else to go wrong. And so we're very, very, hyper vigilant, aren't we? So really, what did I do? I see it now. I didn't do much apart from act on signs and little things that were placed in front of me by my mother, by the other world. Who was it? And so this is where it began for me. There was no internet. She became my teacher. I would drive to see her. She would lend me books. She would tell me, because she had this world of knowledge experience. She had experienced everything. I know we talk about circle now, but on a far deeper level, physical mediumship, every kind of experience. And, she was also an earth healer and everything. So she lent me books. We talked for hours. That was my school. That was my spiritual school.
So you were totally new to this. You didn't even know what a reading was. You had no experience of this world beforehand, no? No. I see, like many of us will do now, I see that there's a little bit understanding me as a child. Yes, I see it all later on. But at that point, no. It was a new world. So you're going to this woman, this now your mentor, and she's taking you through so many topics. You must have had self-doubt. I mean, I'm presuming. Did you have any self-doubt, or did you just know that this is what was happening?
At that time, I believed it was certainly not self-doubt. It was a thing of sort of, oh my gosh, only not doubt or what's going on. I can't say it was self-doubt at all. It was just a new beginning. So it was just, I was rejigging my mind, rejigging my emotions, everything. So I think self-doubt came in a little bit further down my adventure, further down the years. But then, no, I was like a child, like we were. I just wanted to soak in everything. And what it did was it diluted my grief.
Mm-hmm. I like that. That's a nice phrase.
To a point where, yes, I don't know where that came from. I think it came from, as we'd say, it came from my team, my friends. And that's what it did. It made, there was a reason for all that had happened.
Okay, so if initially you did not have any self-doubt, did your friends and family have doubt? And did they think, okay, this is just Nicola's way of grieving? Let her crack on. And if that's the case, how did that make you feel for something that was so real to you?
I remember hearing the talks. There was sort of, grandparents, slightly unusual child. I come from a household of men, which sort of, I don't know, I felt the need to dominate and sort of be the biggest and boldest out of all my brothers and everybody. So they didn't really question. I suppose in the beginning, when they were grieving as well, grieving hugely. It was a case of, just let her play. If that's what's going to help her, then just let her do that. So it was that. They think they quietly just let their odd daughter carry on doing her oddness. Didn't even bother me, because to me there was one direction, and that was ahead. And to understand.
So that confidence that you show every week in Circle, the confidence that you show the world, as true as that is now, that was true then.
Absolutely. This certainty still sits within me now. And we're not talking about self-doubt, because this certainty, that's true even at the beginning, in the depths of despair, and that I had this certainty, this excitement that all that was to come, all that was to come. This is why I love it when I go, teaching now and sharing knowledge, because I just want everybody to just feel, taste, smell, hear, all of that I felt at the beginning. And I still do it at times, obviously, especially when I'm with students, because I'm still learning. I'm still observing. So everybody should come into Nicola's Sweet Shop and have a bit of that sugar rush or spirit rush.
Okay, thank you, because I think that really helps people understand, especially me as well. The vast majority of the episodes I've spoken about have been about my self-doubt or around my confidence in this. It's lovely to hear that you can be confident in this journey and not always doubting yourself. Okay, so this episode is all about circles, so let's go back to basics. What are circles and who are they for?
Okay, there are generally two forms of circle. They are there for developing your psychic senses, your connection to the spirit world, to discover yourself. A circle is there for so many reasons, but you will get an open circle, of which you join, which I'm running with you, Matt. That's an open circle. So it's open to anybody wishing to just get their rucksack on their back and head off on their spiritual adventure. Then you get a closed one where you have to be invited. It will be a select few, and there's no hierarchy in it. It's just they wish to keep there, because it's building a circular form of energy. It's a building of energy within a circle, so it can move round and round and connect. So with a closed circle, they will be, they're possibly further along in their development or where they are, and they will be very dedicated, and they will have their time. They will not miss anything.
Thank you for saying that they are not hierarchical, because if you are new coming to this, phrases like open circle, closed circle, they can sound really off-putting and actually really intimidating to a lot of people.
Yeah. Oh, it's absolutely. So there's none of that. It's just a different, I would, in my view, it's more of a sort of the intensity people might wish to work at, and those that are on exactly their same pathway. So it can be quite intense, this energy. And that means that they are working with each other all the time and nobody else. So the energy that's built up and the teams that surround them, or guides or helpers, whatever you wish to call them, it gets stronger and stronger, because there's not people leaving and others popping in and disturbing the energy here and there, which an open circle, that can happen.
Can anyone go? Can someone who has just lost a loved one wanting to communicate with them go to a circle? Can someone who has had no spiritual or mediumistic or psychic experience before go because they want to start developing it? Who are these for?
For myself personally, I do like to have a little chat with the people to try and understand them so they don't just walk in, because as a circle leader, I am in charge of the energy. Anybody can come to open circles, it's true. And the wonderful thing we mentioned a little while ago about the internet, you can pop in. You can pop in. Me, I would want to know the reason to be sure that they would be safe within that circle. I need to make sure everybody's safe. What are their reasons for coming? Everybody has different reasons. They need to understand themselves mainly, what is happening to them. They come for healing. Some will come, which I'm not sure is because they want to hear from their loved ones and they think they can just get messages from people there. Maybe that's not the way forward. But I don't wish to judge people. I just wish to gather them for the right reason, and so they and hold them within that their specific needs. Anybody can do it. You will get people who come more on the healing side for themselves and for others. You get those that are so, energy, it's all happening. I don't understand it. What's going on? I need to know more. And others trying to find their root, their spiritual root, because within our circle there's many crystal healers. There is so many things. Reiki, there is so many things, but ultimately it's that communication with the other world. But if you're never going to understand if you don't dip in to see. And there is that thing, there's always circle hoppers. I like to call them circle hoppers because they can't quite find what it's, they can't quite find what's for them. And they might step away completely. But thank goodness they walked through the door or went on Zoom and did it for the first time.
Yeah, I agree. Let's go back to your development. Just step back for a moment to your development. You said that you soaked up everything you could from your mentor. When you went to your first ever circle, how did you feel about attending that circle, and how were the realities of that circle versus your expectations?
As I said, my adventure has been going a long time, and things have really, really stepped up in the spiritual arena. I didn't go to circle, probably I studied, I learned, I soaked up everything, discussions, all sorts of things, experiences for a good 20 years before I went to circle, or that 18 years. I had no idea. My mentor, bless her heart at the time, or still is,
Sorry, can I just pause? How long?
Well, probably 18 years.
So you were
freelancing. I was
before you even stepped into a circle.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I was just trying to work that back, but I think maybe 18 years. But that time, I for me, my world was a cinema. I had all sorts of, people visiting me and coming here and all sorts of experiences. But actual sitting with others within a group, it was that long before I did it. I have to say, I'd attempted to go to a couple of circles I heard about, but my mentor, June wouldn't let me. She knew about them. She wouldn't let me sit there. She wanted to find the right sort of place for me. Might I also add, there are churches, spiritual churches that have circles as well. I forgot to mention them. And theirs will be based also, should I say, around the 7 principles of spiritualism, their circles. I just thought that everybody was going to be jolly and welcoming because we're all spiritual and it's all great, isn't it? And everyone's having just as good a time and versus me. Well, I walked in and I thought I'd actually gone to a funeral. I think it was the most, I stepped in and I thought, oh gosh. And I'm generally, as you know, quite a sort of friendly and an approachable person. Mm-hmm. And I sort of took my seat and it was just, I very much felt like I was, I'd stepped into their space.
Okay. Yeah.
And it was an open circle. It was like, oh, you've stepped into our space. And I was like, I was being sort of, not judged, but, okay. And I said, it wasn't quite what I was expecting. And do you know what, Matt? What was I expecting? I think in Nicola's world that everyone would just be like Nicola. But oh my word, no. And that's where I witnessed the fact that people come for many different reasons, and in circles there can be a lot of grief. But circles have to be managed. Their circle leader should manage this all properly. You will. Should I? I didn't know where else to go, I suppose. And I just thought, because to me, through a bit of dedication, through a bit of listening, you can find where you want to go. So I thought I must stick at it. I've never been a quitter, and see where this would. And I needed views from other people doing this, whatever this is. Woo-woo stuff. So yeah, I think I'm not really answering that properly, because what did I expect? Ultimately, at the end of it wasn't what I expected after some years.
I find it interesting because I went to Circle because I needed the validation. Is this just a load of hocus pocus and baloney?
Yeah.
Or can I go to somewhere where there's a bunch of like-minded people? Because if I did this in the street, not only is it wrong, but I'd also get my head kicked in. So I wanted to go somewhere where there were like-minded people to test myself and to get validation. But you had already had 18 years of testing yourself, and I find that really remarkable.
Yes. So I just so naively, I suppose, I had been dedicated to my growth and understanding my own soul and working that. Oh, shall I be frank? That I didn't realise that some people thought of it as just an evening out with kind of people who like talking about spirit things, and it's just like, meeting up, sort of book club or something. Because I suppose I was brought up spiritually by a lady who was of the traditions, and I'm sorry to say, I still think that is a wonderful thing, the traditional side of it, because it is, as you will have learnt now, it is not something that should be taken lightheartedly.
No, it's sacred.
Yes.
And clearly you said that your expectations were that everyone else was going to be dedicated, and that wasn't the case. And moreover, that people were defensive or protective of their space.
Yeah, I'm well. Sorry to interrupt you there, Matt, but just as we talk, I'm trying to remember remember all of this. And what it really did teach me at that time was the physical Nicola that I needed to work on, this human Nicola, because I found that I was getting impatient. Because why don't you know this? Why can't we do that? I was thinking, there's so much there that I haven't worked on. Not on my spiritual side, but the bit that was possibly going to block me spiritually, of that human physical side of me.
Would you share a moment that you have had in Circle which deeply affected your perspective on your mediumship or your psychic work?
Turning point, I think, was the realization a lady had come in just seeing whether she liked the atmosphere of the Circle, and I had to give her a reading. And at that point, her husband, literally, I don't often do that, but I could literally see him standing beside her, and he had chosen to opt out of this world. He had chosen to his option to take his life. I was at that point where this lady, and it wasn't long ago, and I could see exactly how he'd done it. And there I'm sitting there, and I had this realization that at this point, I now also have this lady's life in my hands by what is about to be verbalized from my mouth. That was a big wake-up call that everybody needs to know. It's not all love, light and fluffy bunnies. There is this side to this which has to be dealt with very gently, very carefully. And I needed to judge, gosh, was it a wake-up call? It shouldn't have been, because June, bless her heart, had told me that sentence right from the beginning. If you choose to do this, Nicola, you have to understand You have that person's life in your hands for that short time. And that was it thrown in my face. And it taught me that I need to be so... It is a mouth mind that's run away with me many times, even since a little girl, but that I had to allow my soul, that beautiful, eternal part of Nicola, to take over this moment, to hold both the recipient and her dear husband gently. So I think that was that. Well, it must be, because it stands out still so much for me. It also, I suppose, working in circle made me realise how important working psychically is from soul to soul, not with just the other world.
I really hope you are enjoying this conversation with Nicola Ghigi, and I hope you can also see why I am such a fan of her. She is certainly straight talking. She shoots from the hip. But in a world which is full of contradictions, Nicola's voice is certainly one that I have appreciated. Her honesty, her truth, and of course that straight talking encouragement. Just a reminder, guys, that if you wanted to reach out to me, you can find me on Instagram, Facebook and Threads, the.psychic.explorer. I'd really love to know your experience of Circle, if you're going to one, that is. Did you find them daunting? Were they a bit off-putting? Or were they a place of sanctuary? And again, that word I always come back to, validation. Reach out to me, let me know, I'd love to hear. For the moment though, let's get back to Nicola Ghigi as she talks Circle. So what made Nicola start her own circle?
I knew this is what we do with our wonderful work, is we start to listen to ourselves. We start to see those signs. We start to feel everything around us. I knew things were changing. Ultimately, there had been an unfortunate ending to Mead Circle, and there'd been a point where a certain allegedly spiritual person had tried to destroy me. I knew after gradually picking myself up, because I'm not a quitter and I'm not doing it for myself, I'm doing it for serving spirit, that I didn't ever want anybody to be in that form of circle. I knew exactly. I had been ignoring the push and the whispers in my ear and the little nudges or whatever tumbling through my body to go on then, help others. Because one of the first words were given to me by June, and actually her husband, who was an earth healer, was that you are here to help others, Nicola. Don't get carried away. You might do platform, you might do this, but ultimately you're there to help others. I was going around, it had been something in my head. The next thing, I found myself in my village where there's the hall there, asking, do they have any free evenings or mornings? And literally it took 5 minutes. I came out and I sort of got home and thought, wow, I've done it. And I was laughing inside because I knew that they had, my friends, my team and things had been trying so hard to push me. And I just wanted to share this. I'd said at the beginning, I wanted to share this joy of this journey, this adventure of, it is one of self-discovery. We're talking about what we can do for others. We can communicate with the other world. We can do, but it is about yourself, your soul. This is what you have to help you in everyday life that you're living here. It is a bonus to be able to communicate with the other world. A bonus. All these things are just, extras. The ultimate thing is that your soul is not having to walk around with in its human form with somebody that's blindfolded to what we can all have through this experience. And as you know, I've gone off another tangent, but I knew, and they pushed me.
How rewarding do you find running a circle is? Do the practicalities and the logistics outweigh the rewards, or is it all worth it for you?
To me, I've come home, I've arrived. If somebody said to me, right, sit down, Nicola, and right, you are going to work platform for the rest of your life, I'd be thinking, oh, is there any movement in my soul? Or is there, and okay, Nicola, you're doing evenings of mediumship the rest of your life. Okay, Nicola, you have this opportunity to share knowledge, to take others by the hand. I now can feel that movement deep within my solar plexus here of that is yes, yes, yes. This to me is just not an ego. This is what I'm meant to be doing at this precise time. And I want to give people tools to not only find out who they are, so then to be of service to the spirit world who need us. They need us. They need our voices, but also to maybe have tools that they can take out from Circle and they can manage their life far better. You know, that they can suddenly say, I found the words for those. Or actually, do you know what? I helped my friend because I understood how she was feeling. I feel so much more confident. There's one or two I work with. Oh, the thought of having their voices be heard within a circle and other people. No, now they will stand up. They'll say something beautiful. I know this to some people will sound so silly, but I have a lady. She's moved to look quite a bit further away. She was so thrilled that she now has the confidence to get in her car because she knows she's not alone. She knows that she has this inner strength to do it. What's not to love about that? Yeah. When I can witness that. When I'm every time I run a group, a circle, a group, I just feel that love from the group, the energy. Yes, on a practical side, it doesn't just happen, of course. And people leave, we keep it going, and of course they do, and that's up to them. And they're constantly finding, you know, sort of tailored exercises for everybody, managing the energy within a group. But I'm always anybody that sits within our circles to be welcoming, that nobody is better than the other. For a circle, how I see it is, and the joy I get for it is those that will benefit, those that will just flourish are the ones that come for the circle, for the group, for the other people, plus their own soul, not just themselves.
Online versus face-to-face, what are your thoughts?
One has to be careful with words about lockdown, don't you? Because there were so many different experiences. But this had happened. My circle I was with went online. Thought, I don't know, that's impossible. It wakes you up to the fact it doesn't matter because the energy you're feeling, there's no barrier. There's no barriers at all, especially working with the other world. They're there. So it was the understanding that it works just the same. I must admit, I never could have imagined enjoying. I love to do online readings because I meet so many different people and cultures because they're from other continents. It's no different to me at all. There's no difference. In fact, I was doing more online than I was in person, and now it seems to have swapped again. But no, it's amazing because I would say to you, it's not understanding those listening in this country. It's flooded with opportunities for you in person and online. But there's many countries due to
their UK, you mean?
Yes, in the UK. In the UK, there is an abundance for you to choose from in person as well. It's not the same for many other countries. Due to more religious Catholicism, not so keen on it. So places like in Europe, they're beginning to come, be allowed to do this. They're being allowed to have their centres, spiritual centres. And on the religious side, they're allowed to have spiritualism, churches as well, which is massive. Strange enough, like in America, it's where modern spiritualism began again, the Hydesville. And yet I think it's very interesting. This is what I find interesting of having not obviously had the internet, is that different ways of teaching. For me now, looking at it, there's a lot of different forms of teaching in sort of Europe and the other continents. It's quite interesting. I know that there's certain ones you would not be welcome. I have somebody very close to me I know lives in Arab Emirates, and I don't think I shall be taking my groups there just yet, but who knows? Spirit will keep trying.
Well, you never know what the future holds.
Exactly.
I've actually had a listener in the UAE listen to an episode on my stats. It came up with UAE. How amazing is it that technology is allowing people to do this? And if they can't do it face to face, then there is the online version. You can do it online.
You can. And as I said, they're not everybody has a vehicle, do they, to be able to go out to this. There is certain people that find it difficult to be within other groups of people, even if we're all like-minded people. So all I will say is that along your way, you have got to also do that in person. There is something magical within that. And only my thoughts, I don't want that to be lost. It won't be. It won't be at all. But it's just opened. I'm so excited about it. And look, here I am on your podcast. Wow.
So considering your experience of Circle, of not venturing into it for 18 years and finding actually it was a very different environment than you were expecting, as a Circle leader, what advice would you give to someone thinking of going to Circle for the first time? What should they expect?
What should they expect? What I would like them to expect, what I would like for them is a very welcoming space. Again, we have to think about if they are going to go via the church route, there will be a different way of teaching it. It has to be, within their 7 principles. What should they expect? What I would like them to do is to be open to absolutely everything. You don't have to take it, but my advice to you is listen to it. We all need to have an opinion on it. And believe me, the further you tootle along your road, your opinion will change. So why presume one way of working is the best way? With circles, some people, you could go to your regular circle, but, investigate other tutors as well, because you need to have an opinion. You need to have an opinion to find yourself. If you go to a circle and you feel uncomfortable, take yourself out of that situation. You shouldn't feel uncomfortable. I would like people to understand that if they're in a controlling situation, because some circle leaders seem to think it's their circle, they should be just representing spirit, then again, that's not right. But go to discover yourself. Listen to the others around you. I say to people, you can outgrow circles. Your development could be a lot more advanced, be speedier, and you might actually need to change your circle. What are you looking for? You're looking at just being able to have a little go at everything. But I do advise you to have a go at it. We have to, even if you're a quieter person, we have to be brave. And please be reminded that you are not walking into that circle on your own. Absolutely. Even the blindfolded ones that we pass in the streets still have a team behind them. They still have a band of people surrounding them. So you're going in there still with your team. Give your team a chance to see if it's right for you or not. And it is a playground. Circle is a playground for all these gifts that we have. Be reminded again to take self out of it, because your team are trying to work out how to work with you. And unless you practice, it's a practice arena. That's what it is. It's a playground, a practice arena. And unless you practice, your team aren't thinking, well, how should we do this? Should we try and sort of let them feel a bit more? Should we try and do this? Oh, they like that, so let's do that a bit more with them. So you're with this group of people in a circle, but also in that circle is everybody else's teams. And you need to go in there and have the courage to fail sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And this is what it is. And another one, Nicola loves to say, don't sit there and start comparing where you are in your development. Maybe that's knowing absolutely nothing at the time compared to the others in the circle. Comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you start doing that, you won't go back to the circle. You just... and what a shame.
Some great advice there, absolutely. And I wholeheartedly agree. Comparison, the thief of joy. It's one of the things that I have struggled with. Think, well, they're there. Why can't I be there? And it just takes time. It just takes work. And it is that dedication. It's something that Dana Willey, who's also coming on the podcast as well, and by the time this airs, she may have already been on it, who runs the online circle that I go to. And I'm sure you have said this as well, but you don't need to do anything. You just need to show up. Like when you go to circle, you don't need to do anything per se. It's just show up and say what you feel.
Yep.
And that's literally it.
There's a very old-fashioned saying is that every moment, every minute, every second spent in the company of spirit, of course they'll be there. That's why they gather. We have these circles so they can gather to the light and the energy that it draws to them is another penny in the meter. And it is there. You don't have to, but when you sit within that energy in itself but there has to be a bit of commitment. Because what will happen, circlers turn up because it's a bit like if you go to the gym just once a week, oddly so, you haven't got that six-pack and things because you've done absolutely nothing in between. It's still the spiritual muscle. It's a muscle and it wants to play, it wants to work.
Yeah. That's why I stopped. I was going to say, you don't need dedication. I was like, no, you do. You definitely need that dedication to go, but you don't need to actually do anything. Do you know what I mean? Like you just need to turn up, show up, sit with the group.
I'd say observe. Even if you don't want to actively get up and do something, then start to notice how your body feels or how your soul is perhaps moving within you. Is it got excited, or are you suddenly getting a little bit of a headache, or are you just, getting a little bit of anxiety? Because you talk about sitting with a load of energy. So if you don't want to get too involved, although you must eventually try to, then just start to notice. Notice, how do I feel by sitting here? Am I excited? Do I want to know? And things will start to tumble into your mind because they've got you. They've got you there, and they're super excited, spirit. Okay, they are super excited that you're there, and so they will do their best to let it tumble within you.
Okay, final question, Nicola. And thank you so much for this evening. I really enjoyed it. What has been your biggest challenge since you began exploring?
Oh, do I consider any of them challenges? Because I love a challenge. There's this competitive side to me. I know nobody can see me, but I'm slightly competitive. So I suppose that the biggest challenge was the more that I went deeper and suddenly there was more commitments within it, like working churches and platform, and that I started to, the struggle was I then put expectations on myself, and some of the joy, I haven't been forced to do this. I was gifted this awakening by my mother. And I'm still going to give her that one, she's still got that one. And so I haven't been forced to do it. That's why I said to people, you've just wanted to do this. So I was silly. I allowed for that moment to expectations to come up. And I allowed those things that I thought that I had got rid of. They were in my unconscious and they started to seep up through. And that's when I realized, right, momentarily, step back, Nicola. What are you doing? Get those rocks out of your rucksack, fill them with the joy the reason for doing it and for others, and just start to work again on yourself. It was a wake-up call. So I think that's it. And that's how I manage it, by the understanding. But you'll hear, I just say to everybody that's listening now, still, how excited, I hope I sound excited about talking about this 31 years later.
You really do.
31 years later, I'm still excited because I am still that child, that child within is still just soaking this up. Oh, no one's listening, are they, Matt, when I tell everybody that I call my soul Little Nicola? Of course they're listening. Of course they are. And Little Nicola is so proud of me for trying to be the best, I can. But listeners, we must remember that although everyone talks about this work being love and light and light and light and light and joy, there is shadow too. And you have to expect that along the way because it will bring up some things in you you thought that weren't there or you've chosen to ignore. So get ready for that. Seatbelt on with that one.
And by shadow, you don't mean dark entities or anything like that?
No, absolutely not. I'm sorry, I take that back. Bad wording. No, it is the light, but that's the part of you that within. That's the question or the struggle. So that was maybe the shading, like, of that, only of self.
The hurt, Nicola, the hurt Matt.
Yes, that is what, if you're prepared and this is what you wish to do, get ready for those moments that we can never get away from the physical body that we are living in and the experiences that it has had.
Thank you so much for this evening, Nicola. Honestly, it's been fantastic. I've really enjoyed it. And it's been so nice to get to know a bit more of your story. I see you every week, and I've seen you every week for the past, I think, 18 months or so. And to know a bit more of your background, it just makes it a bit more real, which is, I think that's my aim with this whole podcast, is to try and show people that anyone that does this is a real person. We're not special in inverted commas.
Absolutely.
We are not these people who should be put onto and put us on pedestals or think, oh, they've got something special. No, we're all going through struggles. We've all had our own experiences.
So thank you. I would just say to those out there who are thinking of, if they haven't, you can do this. You can go to Circle and think of it as I say to Matt and some other students, your Circle leader should lay out a buffet of things for you to choose from. And you can just, like we do with buffets, you go, I like that bit. I'm going to keep that bit. The rest of it, you just don't touch again. So they should give you all these things with it, working with colour, working, psychically, working with cards. You indulge yourself in the buffet, spiritual buffet, everybody. And you'll find on that buffet, as we always do, something that works for you.
Nicola, how can people find you if they want to reach out to you?
Best way to reach out to me is I do have a website, and that is norfolkspiritualcentre.co.uk. That explains a bit about you can contact me through there. And, for those that aren't in my area or in this country, you'll see a lot of in-person things there, but more is coming up on Zoom. So maybe those of you outside the UK listening could maybe join me on certain things coming up. We had a numerology the other week, numerology, foundations of numerology online, and some more of that will be coming up, and I'll hopefully be putting some more free practice groups out there. So it's norfolkspiritualcentre.co.uk.
And I'll put that in the show notes. Nicola, thank you so much. It's been lovely.
Thank you, Matt.